Hello, everyone. Hope that you and your families are doing well. I'm Theo Slagle, and over the next few weeks, I'm going to be hosting a series of videos to discuss current events related to real estate and its effects that seem to be changing hour by hour. Today, I have Adrian Conforti. He's the regional lead for project and development services at Cushman & Wakefield in the metro region, and has been on my short dial twice a day to get updates on what the heck is happening out there. So with that, Adrian, my first question for you is, what's the current state of construction in the Mid-Atlantic region?
Sure. Theo, let me say thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. Hope these dialogues get some real traction because I think they're very helpful in presenting the accurate picture in the real estate market, especially with this pandemic. Things are changing daily, if not hourly. So again, appreciate getting intel out to the marketplace. So the real estate community and the design and construction community is incredibly resilient. However, there have been some impacts that are quantifiable in the last 3 to 4 weeks. The supply chain has been impacted, I'd say, in order of magnitude from worst to least. We're seeing light fixture suppliers that are 80 to 90% shut down. My team is working on alternative resources with architects. We've produced some of these distribution lists with our suppliers and our contractor community. Millwork, furniture, stone resources, particularly any materials that are customs freight from overseas or across border, those materials are being delayed. I'm happy to say, though, that the local jurisdictions and state governments are adapting very well to our current mobility situation. Fairfax, Arlington, Montgomery County, Alexandria, other suburban DC jurisdictions, and DCRA are accepting online permit applications and limiting inspection resources. We're lucky in the Mid-Atlantic in terms of the construction community that the work is considered essential. And so the general contractor community has really set high standards with respect to safety and on-site protocols to protect the workers. But it is essential, it is proceeding. I'd say that the jurisdictions are adapting by providing some virtual inspections. Some fire marshals will use FaceTime to approve a hydro inspection by viewing the pressure gauge in the field.
Wow.
And I think that adaptation is important to note, that we're really freeing up resources for the local and state governments that have dwindling resources and very limited time for inspections in the field. So I see them adapting very well. We have seen some COVID-19 exposures coming up on job sites.
Yeah.
This is forcing closures and electrostatic treatment of, a chemical spray in the field. It's disrupting the projects by 3 to 5 days, but work continues. And we are definitely 100% mobile in terms of our staff at PDS, and very productive, and happy to say that we're utilizing this extra time to over-communicate with our clients and colleagues. So business as usual on that front.
So for construction projects that are currently under construction, what are some ways that you've worked around these obstacles?
So
like light fixtures or HVAC equipment or things like that.
The materials that have been procured and ordered and are palletized or under some sort of quick ship opportunity, not seeing a tremendous amount of delay in getting that product. It's the new manufactured materials that have a specific specification or custom build. The supply houses and the manufacturers have stopped shipping. So we have been working with a couple of alternative suppliers, and those alternative suppliers, if you're in a design development phase and you have the opportunity to research that, do the due diligence on what's available under quick ship or off the shelf, then architects are making that substitution. and they're doing it in advance of the schedule becoming a critical path issue. Those that are in progress, already ordered, that's where there's some delays, and we're getting creative. We have one client that bought, a fluorescent downlight fixture, several hundred of those. We are looking at opportunities to identify product. This supply house in Baltimore is still available, so we're potentially doing a substitution change order for that work. So we have to get, creative in this environment, and I think this is just temporary. I think inside of 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see a lot of those supply resources freeing up again.
Sure. Do you see a change in pricing as it relates to what a 5 to 10,000 square foot law firm build out costs today versus what it could cost if we're starting construction in third or fourth quarter?
It's interesting. This is probably the number one question that I'm asked on a daily basis, and I'll tell you this. It's a tough question to ask. Do I anticipate the costs increasing like they have since 2016 at a rate of 5 to 7% a year? No, I do not. I believe that there will be some leveling off this year. The challenge we have is you'll have some subcontractors that file bankruptcy, have to shut doors as it relates to this pandemic and this stay-at-home mandate. And so a lot of that labor force is going to be shifting between companies. The supply chain delays are extending schedules. So that's adding general conditions and fees to those construction costs. But I see the general contractor landscape getting more competitive as a result of this. I think the subcontractors right now are trying to backlog projects that they know were postponed later on in the year. So I think the general contractor, the subcontractor trade community is aggressively bidding work, and I think that pricing right now is competitive. But I think down the road, 4, 6, 8 months, things may be a little bit different because labor forces will be dwindling down. If the supply chain gets back to normal, you might see the same level of competition we had in December, January, which was kind of the highest I've ever seen it. So there's some head and tailwinds going on right now. So it's difficult to know and have the data to support a projection or prediction. But I do think the crazy increases we've seen in the construction community will level off this year.
Right. So sometimes when people are talking about a market, they say it's a tenant's market or a landlord's market.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be fair to say that prior to this happening, this was more of a construction, a GC market versus a buyer's market or tenant's market?
100%. I would say the general contractors had the run of the mill over the last year, I'd say.
Yeah.
This is absolutely a tenant's game after this thing. Tenants are going to have a lot of options. You know as well as I do that the DC investor market leasing market was tough. The fundamentals were tough before this. They're only going to be harder now with higher vacancies. So I think this is going to be a tenant's game, specifically if a tenant has options and flexibility in terms of a pending lease expiration. They will have a lot more options and better pricing opportunities.
So maybe it's a little too early to have this discussion or have a real opinion yet, but based on the going back to work concept, which we all hope happens soon, it's likely to be a phased kind of project, and every company's going to operate differently. Have you thought, or do you have any thoughts that you can share as relates to how the workplace was utilized 6 weeks ago versus 6 weeks from now?
I think that's probably too narrow of a window. What I am seeing is most of the firms I'm talking to now are looking for data and research to support any changes in their thinking related to space planning or utilization. Yeah. I've not actually seen companies implement change relating to impacts of COVID. I think most are waiting to see the studies to support the change. However, I think you'll increasingly see companies revisit their distributed work policies, investing in more robust IT platforms that support mobility, taking a fresh approach at including a remote work policy. I think you'll see companies start to embed this, the technology and the distributed work philosophy, and that will change footprints over the long term, 5, 10, 15% as it relates to these strategies. Do I think that the office is gone and real estate is changed forever? I think there will be change, but I think it's going to be modest and it'll take some time to transition. I think people will start to adopt mobility policy and really look at it hard, a lot harder than it has been. I think on average, companies were in the 3 to 5% range. They're going to be in the 10 to 15% range in terms of reservation, office reservation, and butts and seats.
So good answer. So on, you run a team of how many people?
43.
43. So any tips for people that are overseeing a team from home? What are some things that you guys have done to stay on top of it?
Great question. I have just, since I got into this mode, I have been over communicating with everybody. I used to have a monthly all hands meeting that I led in person and then allowed people to dial in. I have switched that to weekly with all of our senior leadership. I've asked that senior leadership reach out to our staff on a bi-weekly basis minimum. We've made this kind of a recurring calendar invitation so that everyone understands the importance of communicating. I reach out to our brokers and clients at least once a week as a touch point. I'm a Generation Xer, right? So this idea of a virtual happy hour never made any sense to me. But
it's very convenient.
But we had one last Friday, and I got to tell you, it was really fun. You see everybody kind of relaxed in their home environment. We shared more. We brought our best, cocktail recipes and jokes, and it was a great way to connect. And we're going to continue to do that to keep, our 43 associates feel like they're really part of something bigger.
Right. It's been really great. I've noticed is I'm talking to property management team more than ever, talking with your team more than ever, talking with the capital markets team more than ever, kind of all the services that we talk about and see on a daily basis. We're getting out of our comfort zone and trying to provide as much information as we can to everyone. And it's great to have all those internal resources willing to get on a video call, a happy hour, twice a day call to help each other out.
It's easy to fall in the trap of being a pessimist and a cynic about this current situation. And if you flip that on its back and you say, let's use this as a learning opportunity so that we can be stronger at the end of it, that truly resonates. If we can be united, share information, protect each other, and use innovation the right way, I think we can come out of this with some great lessons.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's it for today. I think next week maybe we'll have some updates from you and your team, and
would love to provide them, Theo. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
See you.